4th of January, Rabbi Furst, Mishna Berura.
Bekeva. If he was at that point, he is able to do Duhening even by himself on a regular basis.
Right.
And everybody who's reached the age where the beard should have filled in already, even though it is not filled in, we considered him as if his beard has been filled in, and therefore he's allowed to duchen.
Right. So even though he may not have a fully mature beard, but if he's reached the age where it's possible, so at that point he can go and very good. Okay, let's start again. Mr. Kuf Chaf Aleph, Mr. Berura.
Kuf Chaf Aleph Shlohevi hasn't brought, or it does bring. Im Nasa Ben Yud Gimel Shana v'Yom Echad. If he's 13 years old in a day, Tilinin Inyan Zeh Shemastama Hevi Shtei Saros. We consider it that he has brought the 2 hairs at that point. Ukain Shapasak Harama La'ayel B'Simin Nunhei B'Sif Hey B'Haga. And I guess it's more explained more in
Hey, that's over there. If I'm not mistaken, by Kaddish, there where you need a minion. You need a minion. So the question is, when can he be soymech on a cotton that he can be concluded into a minion? So that's also the same criteria.
say they won't.
Yeah. Okay.
Why Rebbe, I want to ask a question. I'm trying to connect the 2 things we're learning about Duhening and when he can be counted in the minion. So why is it that a young man cannot be considered part of the minion until he's a certain age to be counted? So why is it that we're strict about that, but then we allow 8-year-olds to go up to the Duchen?
Not by themselves, only with other Kohanim.
Right, but why? But still.
But that's a chinuch issue. They go up early. It's a chinuch issue.
You have a minion of 9 men, and you can't count a boy until he is a certain age. So you have a group of Kohanim, and why do you allow an 8-year-old to go up?
Chinuch. He's got to learn how to duchen. It's practice for him. He can only duchen by duchening. So he practices there. He can't do it alone.
He can practice at home.
That's not he needs to practice, the proper way of duchening in a shul. So he practices in the shul.
Well, what they did in my shul was the fathers used to tell the boys, stand here and watch and don't say anything.
I've seen it where the sons duchen with their fathers if they're below bar mitzvah.
Yeah, I mean, you see,
according to the but they don't do it by themselves.
Again, you really have to realize, especially in chutzpah, it's not a daily occurrence. It only happens 3 or 4 times a year. Well, if you count the second day Yom Tov, okay, so maybe 6 or 8 times a year. It's like if they don't get some practice, they're gonna fumble it when they get up there and it's the real thing. So it's important that they be able to have some real experience, because you never know what's gonna be. The boy just turned by mitzvah, right? And he happens to be the only Kohen in there for second day Yom Tov minyan on Shavuos, and he's up there. He's going to be terribly embarrassed because he's not going to know what to do.
But he will know what to do if his father teaches him at home.
And there's nothing
It's not the same. It's not the same. Barry, did you learn how to ride a bike until you got on the bike? You couldn't ride it. No matter how much your father told you about it, you didn't ride it till you rode it. So you can't learn to duchen until you duchen. It's a different experience.
I believe that in support of what Eliezer is saying, there is a principle of
Yeah.
chinuch, that when you do chinuch, you have to do it in the exact, as close to the exact way as you can possibly do it. That's the nature of chinuch.
Is Mayor on?
Yes, I am.
What'd you do with Aaron?
What did I do with Aaron? That's a good question. Because he really didn't come into the shul, because I think they had like a what they called a junior congregation. So he never came up with me as a youngster.
Okay.
See, it's Stephen, when you're talking about mitzdarfing for a minion, there's nothing you have to do with the mitzdarf in a minion. Even if you don't know how to answer Kaddish and Kedusha and Baruch, you don't know those things. But nevertheless, the fact that you're physically there, all you have to be is physically there for the minion to be formed, that you can say Kaddish and Kedusha Baruch Hu have Kriyas Torah. But here he actually has to do something. He has to say something. He has to know when to go up. He has to know when he has to turn around. Right? He has to know how to hold out his hands. Right? So
I'm sure if a 8-year-old boy didn't go up to the Duhening, but he watched what the Kohanim were doing on the Duhening from the age of 8 to 13, I'm pretty sure he'd know what to do exactly. He'd have 5 years of watching and learning and asking his father, why did you do this? Why did you do that?
You don't pay attention till you have to do it, Barry. Trust me.
No, well,
They'll think they're watching. You'll think they're paying attention, but their mind is, because they're not doing it. Their mind is wandering. It
not
does that.
Kohanim. No.
You have to train.
Not the
you have to train
Kohanim.
the reflexes. The reflexes have to be. Barry, next time you want to take an airplane flight, I'll get a pilot in training. He's been watching for the last 15 years how to do it. He's been watching YouTube for the last 15 years. I'll give you a cheap ticket.
A one-way ticket. A one-way ticket.
That's
It's
a
not the
discount.
same. You're not making a good comparison.
The point is like this. It's not simply knowing what to do. The reflexes have to be trained, right? When it's not simply it's very complicated. If you look at the halachas, you have to when they reach for say, you have to be able to get up there. You have to take off your shoes. You have to know how to unlace your shoes. What if the boy never knew where he has to take off his shoes? He's going to get up there with the shoes on.
Because he can
If he
be
doesn't know how to
taught.
take off his shoes, he's going to have his hands dirty, and he's
He
going to
can
have
be
to wash
taught
his
all
hands
that.
again.
He can be taught all of that.
But
Mayor just told you his son didn't get on the Duhening until he was bar mitzvah because he
said he went to the junior minion. They let him duchen in the junior minion. He learned in the junior minion.
Okay, it was a junior minion. So that's the point. It was a junior minion of all non-bar mitzvah boys.
But they actually went up and did it.
Maybe, I don't know.
But not with the Kohanim in the regular bracha.
Why does it bother you that he's doing it? You seem to have a problem with him doing it. I don't understand the problem.
No, Barry's a Levi, see, and he has to wash all these boys' hands when they come on Shabbos and Yom Kippur.
Yeah, that's why.
I'm
So
a
I have-
Bechor, and I have to do it because the minion I go to has no Levium, and I have to wash the Kohanim's hands all the time.
Yeah. So why you?
Okay?
So
Right.
Eliezer, you should go to Barry's. meeting.
Barry, right?
Okay.
You have
Barry, you can put in a request with the base Yosef, and maybe he'll it's a
You have-
difficult for the Levim, right?
Yeah,
So,
it is. It's really, it really, because you have all these kids running around, pushing the adults, literally bumping them out of the way so they can get washed and
Well-
all that. So
Well, then it's an issue of the parents
That's
teaching it.
also part of their chinuch.
Yeah, the parents have to teach the children derech eretz.
Supposed to line up with derech eretz. Supposed to line up with derech eretz, and you're supposed to wait for the adults who
Exactly.
These kids they can't go before an adult. You tell them. You're
I
a
would-
child still. You go
Hey,
to the back of
Barry,
the line.
Barry,
And I told you,
if the fathers can't teach the children how to behave when they're duchening, they won't be able to teach them how to duchen without duchening.
What? Can you say that in French?
Parlez-vous français? Voulez-vous causer avec moi?
I absolutely didn't understand what you said in English.
But it was in
Instead, if the
French, you asked
fathers
for
are
it.
not able to teach the children how to behave properly when they're duchening, those same fathers are not going to be able to teach the children how to duchen without duchening.
Who's on first?
Again, Barry, you have an opportunity. I told you, you'll buy a bag of toffees, buy a bag of candies, and you tell the kids when they're pushing, says, no, this is not the way we do things here. This is a school, there's covered roast, there's derech eretz. Take this candy, go to the back of the line, right? In the
Yeah.
meantime, you can make a shout call on the candy, eat the candy, and you'll wash your hands in 2 more minutes. Let the adults
Not in my shul. That's not going to fly.
Barry, I have faith in you, Barry. I have 100% faith in you. It's your responsibility for the next generation. It's in your hands, Barry. Literally.
Now I'm worried.
It's in their hands. It's in their hands, not in my hands.
No, you're the Levi. You're the one in charge. At that point, you're the one in charge. You're the
No,
sergeant.
I'm talking about the hands of the Kohanim.
Okay, let's continue on the Mishna Berura. Who was reading?
Okay, Chuf Beis.
Right.
Enonose doesn't go up to Duchan. I feel it'd be Be'akrai even temporarily. She'ain kavod sibor liokifufim liberkos cotton. But it's not a cover for the shul to receive the bracha from a cotton who's doing it alone.
This expression, kafufim, is literally means like beholden. It's not in the honor of the tzibur of the congregation that they should be beholden to the bracha of a cotton. Meaning, you have all these adults, right? You have all these adults standing there, and you have this child giving them a bracha. It's very strange, that they seem to be dependent. The whole tzibur, all these zakenim, talmidim chachamim, right, rabbis and tzaddikim, and they're all there being blessed by this child. Seems very strange.
But I don't get the problem. I thought the whole thing we said was that the Kohen is just a conduit. It's Hashem that's blessing.
Right, but it's not covered of the tzibur. It's not honorable for the tzibur that their conduit, their agent, should be a child.
It's the same thing as a lot of other mitzvahs, Lou. Like a woman is allowed to read Megillah, but it's not a cover for the tzibur to have a woman read for them. It's just the same sort of thing. There are a lot of places we see where somebody is allowed to perform a mitzvah for the tzibur, but if that person does it, it's not considered a covered for the tzibur to have that person do it.
When you're dealing with the tzibur, you have to be conscious of the general public attitude toward this situation. Yep. Okay. Let's continue on.
Lil Mov Heat Chanev. He has to teach him how to do the duchening. Because of this reason, Rashai Levar Gamkin, he's also allowed to say the bracha.
Because
right.
when you mechanech him, to train him, he's even allowed to say the bracha, even though he's not mitzvah. It's not his mitzvah. He's not doing a mitzvah whatsoever. Nevertheless, he can go and make the bracha. And that the Kohen is a cotton. Nevertheless, in terms of chinuch, you want to, because the whole the foundation of chinuch is you want to train the child that when he becomes bar mitzvah, when he becomes an adult, he'll be able to fulfill the mitzvah properly.
Okay. Magen Avraham V'Kain Kosav Haradbaz B'chelik Aleph, Siman Tuf Kuf Samachay. Hinuch Ze Eno Kishar Zamani Chinuch. This is not like other types of chinuch. Shu Kvar Chamesh Kvar Shes. Because I guess you can start this when he's even five or six. Kim Bishiyadua Lise Kapov Kamin Hage Hakanim. So he learns how to duchen according to the minhag of the Kohanim.
Right. So, meaning usually in general, the Zman of Chinuch, the time of Chinuch of training begins at 6 or 5 or 6 years old. That in general, for most children, the time of training in general for the mitzvahs begins at 5 or 6. In truth, however, each mitzvah has its own time, depending on what it is. Right? For example, sukkah. The mitzvah sukkah, chinuch begins when the child can sleep with the father at night when he's not going to be waking up in the middle of the night and crying for his mother, right? Which could be even earlier, before 5 or 6. Tefillin, for example. Tefillin begins 30 days for Ashkenazim. Tefillin begins 30 days before bar mitzvah, right? Fasting, right? Fasting begins the year, basically the year before Yom Kippur, before he's going to be 13, or a girl when she's 12. The year before that, we'll have that Yom Kippur. So each mitzvah has its own particular time for the training to begin. In general,
Aaron, are you okay?
What?
Is Aaron okay?
Yes, I'm fine, yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know why.
You had a funny look on your face. I thought maybe something was wrong.
No,
I'm sorry.
I was listening to this interesting discussion.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I just got a little afraid for a second. That's all.
Thank you for your concern.
so so with Duhening, it begins not at 5 or 6, it begins when he can do all the elements of the Duhening, meaning he has to be properly able to do everything that's required from the do. He has to take off his shoes. He's got to realize that there's a sink that someone that a Levi like Barry is going to be washing his hands on. He has to realize that the adults go first and the children go last, right? He has to know when he's supposed to go up to Duchen, when they get to Ritzay. He has to know to cover himself with the talus and cover his hands with the talus, turn around at the proper time, to spread his fingers out in the proper way, to hold his hands in the proper way, right? It's a complicated procedure, right? So not every child is able to do those things. It depends on his mental abilities. It depends on his dexterity. Depends on many things, concentration, right? He can't get up there on the platform there and start doing a jig, like he's got to fit in with everybody else. So when the child is ready and able to start doing all these things, then he begins to be trained in the midst of Birkos Kohanim, and he doesn't have to do it beforehand. Okay. Chuf Chav Daled. Yeah, Miyudav, good. Yeah, right. But that, again, it's only going to be occasionally, but not with the routine that he can do this, if there's no other Kohen there.
Instruction. Gamze hu mitam kavod tzibur. This is also because of the honor of the tzibur. Shein kvodam shivorchem tamid bekeva b'chidi ishlo nimla adayin zikno. It's not covered for them to get their general, have the duty before them all the time, for somebody who has not, whose beard hasn't filled in yet.
Yeah.
Biakrai or temporarily or periodically. Medina saying in our countries, Shein Nosni Kapav Ela B'Yonta, we're only Duchnan Yonta. Mutalisa Kappa B'Kol Regal Afilu Bifnei Atzo. It will be mutter for that person to duchen at any Yonta, even if he's doing it by himself today. Lagazuke Nafsho Kahanai, in order to strengthen his body with this,
I think, I think this means to establish himself as in status of being a Kohen, meaning,
Right,
because because if he got up there and Dukat on Shavuos, and then on Rosh Hashanah he didn't, and Yom Kippur he did, and then on Sukkot he didn't. People would have, what is this guy? He's a confused fellow. Is he a Kohen or he's not a Kohen? So therefore, since in the regions in Europe, meaning in the European Jewry in general, they only dukened on the regel on the Yom Tovim. So then it would be permissible that he could go up and duchen on a regular basis, because it's only going to be a few times a year anyway.
okay. Delo mikreze ela akrai. Because he's only, in general, it's only doing it occasionally.
Right, doing it on the Yom Tovim is itself is only called doing it occasionally.
Might as well finish off. Ein le'el, you can see above, Kloma, which is say, Desham mavor da'afil haya lo zakein mu'ud. It explains over there, even he has a small beard, Krinin Bay, Nismale Zikno, we consider him as if the beard has been filled in, Imhu, Biben Yud Ches Shana Ulamala, if he's 18 years of age or older. Ukodem Lechain, Be'inyan, Milu Zakein, Mamish. But younger than that, we actually have to see the beard itself filled in.
Right. Okay, very good. We finished that. That was good. Mr. Shem will continue tomorrow.
All right.
Very good. Everyone have a good day.
You too.
Tomorrow, Mr. Shem. Thank you.
Okay.
Everyone be well.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Well,
Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Mayor. Thank
Good
you.
job,
Okay.
Eliezer.
Thank you, Barry.
okay.
Have a good
Have a
day.
good day.